I'm gonna be honest. Sometimes I think she still loves me. I don't even know why I think that. There's no proof. It's just a thought that shows up and refuses to leave. We started dating when I was a freshman. I met her through my cousin, Daisy. They were roommates. That's it. That's how it started. At the time, it felt simple. I didn't think it was going to become something that sticks with me this long. But it did. One day I was just playing Minecraft, like literally doing nothing important, and I saw her text. It was short, no emotion. She just said she wanted to break up. That was the whole message. I didn't understand it. I still don't. I called her, no answer. I texted her back, nothing. Then I realized she blocked me. That moment messed me up, because blocking someone isn't accidental. It's a decision. I went to their room later trying to figure out what happened. My cousin told me she moved to another school, and that people saw her with another guy, a big dude. And that's when it really hit me. Like, okay, she didn't just leave. She replaced me. After that, I tried to find her online. Instagram, Facebook, anything. I couldn't find her anywhere. And yeah, this part is embarrassing. I held onto her pictures way longer than I should have. Not because I'm proud of it, but because I didn't want to accept that she was gone. Sometimes I'd look at them just to feel close again, and afterward I felt like trash. Like I was stuck while she was living her life. I still cry sometimes when I think about her. Not loud crying, just quiet. Like something heavy sitting in my chest. And every single time, I blame myself. Maybe I was too nice. Maybe I wasn't exciting. Maybe I didn't act like a man enough. Maybe I didn't see signs I should have seen. I replay everything over and over. Conversations, moments, things I said, things I didn't say. Because if I messed it up, then at least there's a reason. At least it makes sense. What hurts the most is not knowing. Not knowing why she left. Not knowing what changed. Not knowing if I ever really mattered. Sometimes I think about reaching out again, just asking her why. Just getting some kind of answer. But then I stop, because what if she doesn't reply? Or worse, what if she does and it confirms everything I'm scared of? I hate how long this has stayed with me. I hate that she still takes up space in my head. I hate that a part of me still hopes she'll come back. That part makes me feel weak, like I should be over this by now. But maybe the real problem isn't her. Maybe the problem is me holding on. Am I holding on because I love her, or because I'm scared to let go? Scared that she was the best I'll ever get. Scared that if I let her go, there's nothing left. Scared of being alone with my own thoughts. She already made her choice. She didn't explain it. She didn't look back. I'm the only one still thinking about it, still replaying it, still stuck. So I don't have some deep answer. I don't have closure. I just have this question I keep avoiding. At what point does holding on stop being love and start hurting me? And honestly, should I let her go? I don't know yet, but I think I'm close. I could have kept this to myself like I usually do. But I guess I'm tired of being stuck in my own head. So I want to ask you something. And I actually want an honest answer. Do you think I should let her go? Not the motivational answer, not the time heals everything stuff. I mean for real. If you were in my place, if someone left you with no explanation, blocked you, moved on, and you were still thinking about them this long after, would you keep holding on? Or would you force yourself to let it die, even if it hurts? Because part of me feels like letting her go means admitting I lost. Like it means she mattered more to me than I ever did to her. But another part of me feels like holding on is slowly messing me up. Like I'm carrying something that isn't mine anymore. So I want to know what you think. Do I let her go, even without closure? Do I stop hoping she'll come back? Do I stop replaying everything? Or is it normal to still feel like this? I'm not looking for sympathy. I'm not looking for people to pick sides. I just want perspective from someone who isn't me. So yeah, tell me what you think. Should I let her go? I've asked myself this question more times than I want to admit. Was she cheating? I don't even know why my brain keeps going there. I don't have proof. I don't have screenshots. I don't have some big moment where I caught her. All I have is how everything ended. Because the way she left didn't make sense. One normal day we're together. Next thing I know, she sends a short text saying she wants to break up. No explanation, no conversation, just done. Then she blocks me. That's the part that really sticks with me. Because people don't usually block someone they care about. They block someone they don't want to deal with, or someone who knows too much. And then I hear she moved to another school, and she's already being seen with another guy. A big guy. And my mind just starts connecting dots, even if I don't want it to. I start thinking, did this start before we broke up? Was she already talking to him while she was with me? Was I just the safe option until something better showed up? And that thought hurts more than the breakup itself. Because if she cheated, then everything we had feels fake. Like I was there, but not really chosen. I look back at moments now and they feel different. Times when she was distant. Times when replies were slow. Times when I felt like something was off, but I ignored it. And I hate that I ignored it. I hate that part of me wants to blame myself again. Like maybe if I was better, she wouldn't have looked somewhere else. Maybe if I was more confident, more exciting, more whatever, she wouldn't have needed someone else. But then I stop and think, even if she did cheat, would knowing for sure actually help me? Or would it just give my pain a clear shape? Because right now, the not knowing is torture. But knowing might be worse. Knowing would mean accepting that I trusted someone who didn't respect me. That I gave my time and feelings to someone who was already halfway gone. And part of me doesn't want to believe that, because believing that makes me feel stupid, like I missed something obvious. So I stay stuck in the middle, not knowing, guessing, replaying things that already happened. And the truth is, I'll probably never know. She's not going to explain herself. She's not going to give me honesty now. She already chose silence. So I'm left with this question that keeps looping in my head. Was she cheating? Or am I just trying to find a reason that hurts less than she just didn't choose me? I don't have an answer. All I know is that wondering about it is slowly eating me. And I don't know if it's something I need to let go of or something I need to finally accept. I just know it still bothers me. And yeah, that's the truth. After that thought settled in my head, everything started to look different. Little things. Stuff I didn't care about before. Like how sometimes she'd take way longer to reply than usual. Or how she'd say she was busy but never really say with what. Or how plans would suddenly change last minute. At the time, I told myself I was overthinking. I literally remember thinking, don't be that insecure guy. Don't ruin this. I wanted to be chill. I wanted to be understanding. I wanted to be the good boyfriend. So every time something felt off, I talked myself out of it. I'd say things like, she wouldn't do that to me. She's not that type. If she had a problem, she'd tell me. I trusted her way more than I trusted my instincts. Looking back, that's probably the part that hurts the most. Not that she might have cheated, but that I ignored myself. There were moments where I felt like I was competing with something I couldn't see. Like I was present, but not fully there. Like her attention was split. And I remember one specific moment where I thought, if she wanted to be here, she'd be here. That thought scared me, so I buried it. After the breakup, everything hit at once. The silence, the blocking, the fact that she moved on so fast. That's when the depression really kicked in. I'd wake up already tired, not physically, mentally. Like my brain was already exhausted before the day even started. I stopped enjoying things I used to like. Games felt empty. Music just reminded me of her. Even random places started triggering memories. And the worst part was the self-doubt. I kept thinking, maybe I wasn't enough. Maybe she needed something I couldn't give. Maybe that other guy had what I didn't. That thought messes with your head. Because once you start comparing yourself to someone you've never even met, you always lose. There was this moment, I remember it clearly, where I was sitting alone and it hit me. Even if she cheated, even if she didn't, I was already broken either way. So what do I even do with that? Part of me wants answers, proof, something solid so I can stop guessing. Another part of me is skeptical now. Not just of her, but of my own judgment. Like, if I miss this, what else am I blind to? And now I'm stuck in this weird place. Trying to move on, but still analyzing the past. Trying to heal, but still checking old memories. Trying to be logical while my emotions are still loud. I think what I can do now is this. Stop blaming myself for being naive. Because being trusting doesn't mean I was stupid. It just means I cared. And I think I need to stop chasing certainty. Because sometimes there isn't a clean answer. Sometimes all you get is silence, and you have to build meaning yourself. I'm not fully there yet. I'm still skeptical, still guarded, still questioning. But I'm starting to realize something uncomfortable. Whether she cheated or not, the relationship still ended the same way. And maybe that's the part I need to accept before I can actually move forward. I'm not healed, but I'm more aware than I was. And if I'm being honest, I don't think knowing the truth would fix anything. It feels like it would, but it wouldn't. If she cheated, it would hurt in a clean, sharp way. Like, okay, that's the reason, that's the answer. But then what? I'd still be left with the same empty space. I'd still have to rebuild myself without her. And if she didn't cheat, that might actually hurt more. Because then it means she just chose to leave. No big betrayal, just a decision. Either way, the outcome doesn't change. So here's what I think now. I think I was naive, but not in a bad way. I trusted someone I cared about. That's normal. I think I ignored my instincts because I didn't want to lose her. That's human. And I think I punished myself way too much afterward for things I didn't even know were happening. If I could give myself advice back then, I'd say this. Pay attention to how someone makes you feel, not what they say. If something feels off consistently, it probably is. You don't need proof to feel uncomfortable. But also, don't let suspicion turn you into someone bitter. One relationship ending badly doesn't mean everyone is like that. It just means that one ended badly. What I'm trying to do now is stop digging, stop replaying, stop needing a final answer. Because closure doesn't always come from the other person. Sometimes it comes from deciding you're done hurting yourself. I'm also learning that trust doesn't mean being blind, and love doesn't mean ignoring red flags just to keep someone around. If someone wants to be with you, you won't feel confused all the time. You won't feel like you're competing with ghosts. You won't feel replaceable. And if you do feel that way, that's already telling you something. So my advice, to myself really, is this. Don't chase people who choose silence. Don't build stories in your head just to stay attached. And don't shame yourself for loving deeply. I don't regret caring. I regret staying stuck. I'm still skeptical. still healing, still learning. But I'm choosing to move forward without answers now. Not because it's easy, but because staying here hurts more. That's where I'm at. I've asked myself this question more times than I want to admit. Does she actually love you? Or are you just hoping she does? Because those two things feel almost the same at first. And that's the problem. When you like someone, your brain starts working against you. You start collecting small things and treating them like proof. She replied fast that one time. She laughed at your joke. She remembered something you told her weeks ago. And you tell yourself, yeah, she feels something. But then there are gaps. Long gaps. Days where she barely texts. Plans that never fully happen. Moments where you feel close one minute and distant the next. And instead of questioning it, you start adjusting yourself. You reply faster. You try harder. You overthink every message before sending it. You reread old chats looking for reassurance. That's usually the first sign something's off. When liking someone starts to feel like work. One thing I learned the hard way is this. When someone loves you, you don't feel confused all the time. You might feel nervous, you might feel excited, but you don't feel constantly unsure. Confusion usually means imbalance. One person wants clarity, the other is comfortable keeping things vague. And that's where a lot of people get stuck. You don't want to push, you don't want to scare her away, so you stay quiet. You tell yourself, I'll just wait and see. I'll give it more time. She'll show it eventually. But time doesn't always reveal feelings. Sometimes it just reveals patterns. And I think a lot of us confuse potential with reality. We fall in love with how it could be, not how it actually is. You imagine what she'd be like if she fully chose you, if she tried the same way you do, if she showed up the way you would for her. And that imagination keeps you hooked. You start accepting less than you want, less effort, less consistency, less honesty, all because you don't want to lose the possibility. And that's exhausting. Because deep down, you're not really asking, does she love me? You're asking, is it safe for me to keep caring? And most of the time, if you have to ask that, the answer isn't what you want it to be. That's where I'm at with this. Not angry, not bitter, just tired of guessing. If someone loves you, you won't have to constantly decode them. That doesn't mean everything is perfect. It just means effort is clear. One of the biggest signs she likes you is consistency. Not intensity, consistency. She checks in. She follows through on plans. She doesn't disappear for days and come back like nothing happened. If you feel like you're always waiting, that's not love. Another sign is initiative. She asks questions. She wants to know about your day. She remembers things you said. If you're always the one starting conversations, always the one suggesting plans, always the one keeping things alive, you're not being romantic. You're being kept around. Now, common mistakes. The biggest one is over-investing too early. You start acting like her boyfriend before she's even shown real interest. You're always available. You drop everything for her. You give emotional support like you're already together. That's how people accidentally friend-zone themselves. Because once you show you'll stay no matter what, there's no urgency for her to choose. Another mistake is avoiding clarity. You don't ask where you stand because you're scared of the answer. So you stay in this gray area where nothing moves forward. But here's the truth. If asking scares someone away, they were never really there to begin with. Now about being led on. If she flirts when it's convenient, opens up emotionally, leans on you when she's lonely, but avoids commitment or clarity, yeah, that's leading you on. Not always intentionally, but it still costs you. If she talks to you about other guys, asks for dating advice, or treats you like her emotional backup, you're in the friend zone. And that doesn't mean you're not attractive. It means she doesn't see you that way. So what do? First, stop giving boyfriend energy without a title. Match effort, not more, not less. Second, be clear. Not dramatic, not pushy, just honest. Something simple like, I like you and I want to see where this could go. Her response will tell you everything. And about approaching her. If she gives you signs, eye contact, engagement, effort, yes. If she's distant, inconsistent, or passive, no. Don't chase indifference. And about the right one. The right one doesn't make you feel small for wanting clarity. She doesn't keep you guessing. She doesn't make you feel like an option. The right one makes things feel mutual. Not perfect, but mutual. And if it's not mutual, it's okay to walk away. That's not quitting. That's choosing yourself. I don't want to act like I've got this all figured out. I really don't. Everything I just said comes from messing it up myself, from guessing, from waiting too long, from hoping instead of asking. So I want to hear what you think. How do you tell when someone actually loves you and when you're just filling a space in their life? At what point do you stop trying and accept that the feeling isn't mutual? If you've been in the friend zone before, did you stay in hope or did you walk away? And if you walked away, did it get easier? Or did you always wonder, what if? I'm also curious, do you think it's better to be direct early or to let things develop naturally? Because some people say, just be patient. And others say, if they like you, you'll know. So which one is actually true? I'm not looking for perfect advice. I'm not looking for dating gurus. I just want to know what you've learned the hard way. What signs did you miss? What do you wish you did sooner? What would you tell someone who's stuck guessing right now? Drop it in the comments. Disagree with me if you want. This isn't about being right. It's about being honest. So yeah, what do you think? Does she love you? Or are you just hoping she does? I don't know how to explain this properly. I just feel empty. Not sad all the time, not crying, just empty. Like something is missing, but I don't know what it is. I wake up and everything feels flat. Nothing really excites me. Things I used to enjoy don't hit the same anymore. I still do them. I still laugh sometimes. But it feels fake. Like I'm going through the motions. And the weird part is, nothing is technically wrong. My life isn't falling apart. There's no big disaster. But inside, it feels quiet in a bad way. I think a lot of it comes from losing people. Not just one person, but pieces of myself tied to them. When someone leaves, they don't just take themselves. They take the version of you that existed with them. And you're left trying to figure out who you are without that. I catch myself scrolling a lot. Not even looking for anything, just trying to fill time. Trying not to sit with my own thoughts. Because when I stop, that emptiness gets louder. Sometimes I ask myself if I'm broken. Like maybe this is just how I'm wired now. Other times I think maybe I'm just tired. Emotionally tired. Tired of caring too much. Tired of hoping things change. Tired of feeling like I'm always waiting for something. I don't know if this emptiness is grief, or loneliness, or just burnout. Maybe it's all of it at once. I just know it doesn't go away by distracting myself. It always comes back. And that scares me a little. Because if I don't know what's missing, how am I supposed to fix it? That's where I'm at right now. Just trying to understand why I feel this way instead of pretending I don't. I've tried a lot of things to make this feeling go away. Keeping myself busy, distracting myself, telling myself I'll deal with it later. It works for a bit, but the emptiness always comes back. And I started noticing patterns. It usually hits when I'm alone, late at night or early in the morning when there's nothing to distract me. That's when my brain starts asking questions I don't want to answer. Like, what am I actually doing with my life? What am I working toward? Who am I even becoming? I realized a lot of my sense of purpose was tied to other people, to relationships, to being needed, to feeling wanted. So when that disappeared, there was nothing underneath it. And that's a hard thing to admit. I think I also ignored this feeling for a long time. I kept telling myself, it's not that serious. Other people have it worse. But minimizing it didn't make it go away. It just made me feel guilty for feeling this way. There were days where I felt numb instead of sad. And honestly, numb scared me more. Sad at least means you care. Empty feels like you don't. I stopped setting real goals for myself. Not because I didn't want them, but because I didn't trust myself to feel anything when I reached them. I'd think, what's the point if I still feel like this after? That kind of thinking messes with you. It makes you passive. You start waiting for something external to fix an internal problem. I also realized I spend way too much time in my head, overthinking, replaying old moments, imagining different outcomes. That keeps you stuck in the past instead of building anything new. There was a moment where it clicked for me. I was sitting alone, doing nothing, and I thought, I don't miss her. I miss how I felt when I wasn't empty. That hit harder than I expected. Because it meant the emptiness didn't start when she left, it just became obvious after. I think part of this emptiness comes from avoiding discomfort, avoiding risk, avoiding failure. When you stop challenging yourself, life gets quiet. Too quiet. Another part comes from not expressing things, holding stuff in, acting like you're fine when you're not. You end up emotionally constipated. Everything just sits there. And yeah, depression crossed my mind. I won't lie. Not in a dramatic way, just in that slow, heavy way where days blend together. I don't think I'm broken. I think I'm disconnected. Disconnected from purpose. Disconnected from myself. Disconnected from things that actually matter. So what do I think I can do about it? I don't think motivation comes first. I think action comes first. Small things. Routine. Movement. Doing stuff even when I don't feel like it. Not to fix myself. Just to remind myself I'm still here. I'm also trying to be more honest. With myself and with people I trust. Saying I'm not okay without trying to explain it perfectly. I don't have some big solution yet. This isn't a success story. But I think understanding the emptiness is the first step. Not running from it. Not numbing it. Just sitting with it long enough to hear what it's actually saying. And right now, I think it's telling me that something in my life needs to change. I just haven't figured out what yet. I don't really know what the right answer is here. I'm still figuring it out as I go. That's why I want to ask you. Have you ever felt this kind of emptiness? Not sadness, not anger. Just this quiet feeling like something's missing. And if you did, what was it for you? Was it a person? A breakup? Burnout? Feeling lost in life? Did it go away on its own, or did you have to change something? I'm also curious, do you think emptiness is something to fight, or something you're supposed to listen to? Because part of me feels like it's a warning sign. Like my life isn't aligned with who I actually am. And another part of me just wants it to stop. If you've been through this, what helped even a little? Did talking help? Did working on yourself help? Did time help? Or did it come back again? I'm not looking for perfect advice. I'm not looking for inspirational quotes. I just want real experiences, real answers. If you're comfortable, drop a comment, even one sentence. You never know who else might read it and feel less alone. That's it. Why do we miss people who treated us badly? People who hurt us? People who left us confused, insecure, or drained? Like, shouldn't missing them stop automatically? But it doesn't. And that's the part nobody really talks about. I don't miss the arguments. I don't miss feeling anxious. I don't miss overthinking every little thing I said. But I still miss them. And that makes me feel stupid sometimes. Because when you look at it logically, they weren't good for you. They didn't show up the way they should have. They made you doubt yourself. So why does your brain still want them back? I think part of it is familiarity. Even pain becomes comfortable when it's what you're used to. At least you know what to expect. Being without them feels empty, uncertain, quiet in a scary way. Another part is that we don't miss the person, we miss the moments, the good days, the laughs, the way things felt before everything went wrong. And our brain does this annoying thing where it edits the past. It highlights the good parts and blurs out the bad ones. So you start thinking, maybe it wasn't that bad. Maybe I overreacted. Maybe it was mostly my fault. That's dangerous, because now you're romanticizing something that hurt you. I also think we miss who we were when we were with them. The version of you that felt wanted. The version of you that had hope. The version of you that believed things would work out. When they leave, that version disappears too. And suddenly, you're not just grieving a person, you're grieving yourself. Another reason we miss them is because they left things unresolved. No closure, no real conversation, no clean ending. Your mind hates unfinished stories, so it keeps replaying them, looking for a different ending. And the hardest part? Sometimes missing them feels easier than accepting that they weren't good for you. Because accepting that means admitting you stayed longer than you should have. You ignored red flags. You gave too much. And that hurts your pride. So instead of letting go, you miss them, even when they were bad for you. After the breakup, or the ending, or whatever you want to call it, the missing doesn't hit all at once. It creeps in. It shows up when you're bored, when you're tired, when something good happens and you don't know who to tell. That's when your brain brings them back. Not the whole person, just pieces. Their voice, their laugh, the way things felt in the beginning. And that's where the trap is, because in the beginning it usually was good. Most toxic relationships don't start toxic. They start intense. You felt chosen, seen, important. And when something starts that high, the drop feels brutal. So your brain keeps chasing that first version, that early version, the one that made you feel alive, even if the later version hurt you. I also think inconsistency plays a big role. When someone is hot and cold, your brain gets hooked. Good days feel amazing, bad days feel awful. And that contrast creates attachment, not love, attachment. You start trying to earn the good version of them back. You think, if I say the right thing, if I act different, if I try harder, it'll go back to how it was. And when it doesn't, you blame yourself. That's how you end up missing someone who is slowly draining you. There's also the loneliness factor. Being alone after something intense feels empty. Even peaceful moments feel wrong at first. So your brain goes, at least with them I felt something. Even if that something was anxiety. And yeah, trauma bonding is real. When pain and comfort come from the same person, your system gets confused. You start associating relief with the person who caused the stress. So when they're gone, your body feels like it lost its source of safety, even though they were also the source of pain. Another reason it sticks is ego. Letting go means admitting you invested in someone who couldn't meet you halfway. It means accepting you hoped they'd change and they didn't, and that hurts. So missing them keeps the door cracked open. It lets you believe there's still meaning there. There was a moment for me where I realized something uncomfortable. I didn't miss them. I missed feeling wanted. I missed having someone to text, someone to think about, someone who made my days feel fuller. Once I saw that, it changed how I looked at the missing. It wasn't about going back. It was about filling a gap. And that gap wasn't created by them leaving. It was already there. They just filled it for a while. So what do you do with that? I don't think the answer is forcing yourself to hate them. That never works. I think the answer is honesty, admitting what you actually miss, admitting where you abandoned yourself, admitting what you tolerated just to not be alone, and then doing the uncomfortable part, building a life where you don't need chaos to feel alive. I'm not saying I'm there yet. I still miss people who weren't good for me sometimes. But now when I do, I don't romanticize it. I ask myself, what part of me is feeling empty right now? And that question helps more than blaming myself ever did. I don't really have this figured out. I'm still in it. So I want to ask you, why do you think we miss people who were bad for us? Was it because of love? Or loneliness? Or just being scared of starting over? If you've been through this, did missing them eventually stop? Or did it just fade slowly? And when it stopped, what actually helped? Was it time? Was it meeting someone new? Was it finally accepting the truth about who they were? I'm also curious about this part. Did you ever go back to someone you knew wasn't good for you? And if you did it change anything? Or did it just confirm what you already knew? A lot of people say, if they were bad for you, you wouldn't miss them. I don't think that's true. So I want to know what your experience was. What made you finally let go? What kept you stuck longer than you should have been? Drop it in the comments if you feel like it. No perfect answers, no judgment. Just real people talking about real stuff. That's it. I've gone back and forth on this a lot. The law of attraction sounds good. Think positive, visualize what you want, believe it's already yours. And I get why people like it. It gives you hope. It makes life feel less random. But I've also seen people take it way too far. Like, if something doesn't work out, they blame themselves for not manifesting hard enough. Or they feel guilty for having bad thoughts, like negativity alone ruined everything. That part never sat right with me. Because life doesn't work like a vending machine. You don't just put in positive thoughts and get whatever you want. Bad things happen to good people all the time. And good things happen to people who don't deserve them. So where does the law of attraction actually fit in? I don't think it's complete nonsense. But I also don't think it's magic. I think people confuse mindset with reality. Having a positive mindset helps. It affects how you act, how you speak, what opportunities you notice. If you believe something is possible, you're more likely to try, more likely to take risks, more likely to keep going when it gets hard. But that's not the same as the universe rewarding you. Another thing I noticed is people usually discover the law of attraction when they feel powerless, when life feels out of control. The idea that your thoughts shape reality feels comforting. It gives you a sense of control again. And I don't think that's wrong. I just think it can become dangerous if you start ignoring effort, timing, and luck. You can visualize success all day, but if you don't move, nothing changes. I've also seen how this idea can make people avoid real emotions. They feel sad, angry, or hurt, but they push it down because they're afraid they'll attract more bad things. That doesn't heal anything. It just delays it. So right now, where I stand is this. Your thoughts matter, but they're not everything. Action matters. Consistency matters. And accepting that some things are out of your control also matters. People mix a lot of different things into one idea. They mix mindset, discipline, luck, timing, and effort, and call all of it manifesting. And that's where things get confusing. Because yes, mindset matters, but not in the mystical way people sell it. If you walk around believing everything will fail, you usually act like it will. You hesitate, you second guess, you quit early. On the flip side, when you believe something might work, you show up differently. You speak with more confidence. You take chances you wouldn't normally take. You notice opportunities instead of ignoring them. That part is real. But here's where the law of attraction starts falling apart. People skip the middle. They visualize the result without committing to the boring, uncomfortable process. They imagine success, but avoid rejection, avoid failure, avoid looking stupid. And then, when nothing happens, they think it's because they didn't believe enough. That's dangerous, because now you're blaming yourself for things that aren't fully in your control. I've seen people stay stuck because of this. They sit and wait for signs. They wait for the universe to align. They wait for motivation to magically appear. Meanwhile, time keeps moving. Another problem is survivorship bias. You hear success stories from people who manifested something, but you don't hear from the thousands who tried the same thing and got nothing. Not because they were negative, but because life is unpredictable. Timing matters. Resources matter. People matter. You can want something badly and still not get it. And that doesn't mean you failed spiritually or mentally. It just means life doesn't owe us outcomes. I also think the law of attraction can mess with how people process pain. Instead of sitting with disappointment, they rush to stay positive. They tell themselves things like, "This happened for a reason," before they've even felt the loss. That doesn't heal you. It just skips steps. Negative emotions aren't enemies, they're signals. Ignoring them doesn't attract a better life. It usually creates unresolved stuff that comes back later. So where do I land with all this? I think the law of attraction works best when you strip it down to something simple. Your thoughts influence your behavior. Your behavior influences your outcomes. That's it. Not magic, not the universe keeping score, just cause and effect over time. Visualizing a goal can help if it pushes you to act, if it reminds you why you're putting in effort, if it keeps you consistent when motivation drops. But if visualization replaces action, it becomes escapism. And if positivity turns into denial, it becomes avoidance. I'm trying to hold a balanced view now. Hope without delusion, belief without entitlement, optimism without ignoring reality. You can want good things without blaming yourself when life doesn't cooperate. That's the part I think people miss. I don't think there's one clear answer to this, and I don't think everyone experiences it the same way. So I want to ask you, do you believe in the law of attraction? Not in a motivational quote way, in real life. Have you ever seen it work for you? Or did it just make you feel guilty when things didn't go your way? Do you think mindset actually changes outcomes, or does it just change how you deal with whatever happens? And where do you draw the line between being hopeful and being unrealistic? I'm also curious, do you think focusing too much on positivity can stop people from dealing with real problems? Or do you think it genuinely helps most of the time? I'm not trying to convince anyone here. I just want to understand how other people see it. So if you've got a take, drop it in the comments. I read them. Have a great rest of the day. Peace. People probably don't expect this from me. I talk like I don't care. I joke around. I act like things don't really get to me. But the truth is, I'm soft. Like really soft. I just don't show it like that. I talk big because it's easier than explaining how much things actually affect me. It's easier to sound confident than to admit I overthink everything after. I'll say stuff like, "It is what it is. I'm good. I don't care anymore." But that's not always true. Most of the time, I care more than I should. I feel things deeply. I get attached easily. I replay conversations. I notice tone changes. I notice distance. I just pretend I don't. I think I learned early on that being soft gets you hurt. So I built this tougher version of myself on the outside. Someone who laughs things off. someone who doesn't chase, someone who acts unbothered. But inside, I'm still that person who wants reassurance, who wants to feel chosen, who wants things to mean something. And sometimes I hate that about myself, because being soft in a world that rewards not caring feels like a disadvantage. You give more, you wait longer, you hope harder, and when things don't work out, you feel it twice as much. There are moments where I wish I could just shut it off, be colder, be detached. But that's not who I am. I talk big to protect myself, not because I'm fearless, but because I'm sensitive. And saying that out loud feels weird, because people don't really respect softness. They respect confidence, distance, control. So yeah, that's something I don't say often. I talk big, but deep down, I'm just a softie trying not to get hurt. Being a softie who talks big creates a lot of confusion. For other people, and for me. People think I'm colder than I am. They think I'm more confident than I feel. They think I don't get attached. So they pull back without realizing it hurts me. And I don't stop them. I just act like I don't notice. That's one of my biggest mistakes. Instead of saying, "Hey, that bothered me," I say, "It's fine." And then I deal with it alone. In relationships, this becomes a problem. I'll act like I'm chill, like I don't need much, like I'm not expecting anything. But inside, I'm hoping they choose me without me asking. I'm hoping they show effort on their own. I'm hoping they notice. That's not fair to anyone, because people can't read minds, and silence doesn't communicate needs. Another thing is I downplay my emotions so much that even I stop trusting them. I'll feel hurt, then immediately tell myself I'm being dramatic. I'll feel attached, then shame myself for it. Over time, that builds pressure. You act strong long enough, and one small thing can break you. I've also realized I attract certain dynamics because of this. People who like attention without responsibility. People who take softness but don't protect it. People who mistake patience for weakness. And I let it happen. Because setting boundaries feels like conflict. And conflict feels scary when you care deeply. The worst part is when things end, people are shocked by how much it affected me. They'll say things like, "I didn't know you cared that much." And that hurts, because I did. I just never showed it properly. Lately, I'm trying to do something different. Not by becoming colder, but by being clearer. Saying what I feel when I feel it. Letting people see the soft parts without apologizing. Accepting that sensitivity isn't something to fix. I don't need to talk big all the time. I don't need to pretend I'm unbothered. I just need to be honest sooner. That's the part I'm still learning. I know I'm not the only one like this. So I want to ask you, are you the same way? Do you act tougher than you actually feel? Do you joke, downplay things, or act unbothered when inside you care a lot? Have you ever lost someone, not because you didn't care, but because you didn't show it clearly enough? And if you figured out how to balance it, how do you stay soft without letting people walk all over you? I'm still learning that part. So if you've got experience, or even if you're just going through it right now, leave a comment. Someone reading it might feel seen. I'm not here to say I beat it. I didn't. That's the worst part. I'm still doing it, even while knowing it's messing me up. I wake up some days already tired. Not physically, mentally. Like my brain is foggy before the day even starts. I tell myself, today I won't do it. And I mean it. But then the day goes on. I get bored, I get lonely, I get restless, and my brain goes straight there. Not because I want pleasure, but because I want relief. That's the part people don't talk about. It's not even about desire anymore. It's about escape. For a few minutes, I don't have to think. I don't have to feel empty. I don't have to sit with myself. Then it's over, and the shame hits immediately. I feel weak. I feel stupid. I feel like I failed myself again. I'll look at myself and think, why are you like this? Why can't you stop? What's wrong with you? It messes with how I see myself. I don't feel confident. I don't feel disciplined. I don't feel in control. I feel small. And the worst part is how it leaks into everything else. I avoid people sometimes. I isolate. I procrastinate. I feel disconnected from real life, from real attraction, from real motivation. Things that should matter don't hit the same. And then I hate myself for that too. I know all the talk. Just stop. Get busy. Have discipline. If it were that simple, I would have done it already. This feels like a loop. Stress, escape, shame, promise, repeat. And every time I repeat it, I trust myself less. I start feeling like I'm lying every time I say I'll change. That's probably the scariest part. Not the habit itself, but losing belief in myself. I don't even feel dramatic saying this. It makes me feel empty afterward. Not sad, just hollow. Like I gave away energy and got nothing real in return. And yeah, I'm embarrassed admitting this. But pretending it's not a problem hasn't helped either. So this is me being honest. I'm still stuck in it, and I don't like who it's turning me into. What scares me isn't just that I'm still watching porn. It's how much it's changed the way my brain works. I don't feel sharp anymore. I don't feel present. I'll sit down to do something important and my mind just drifts. I can't focus for long. I can't stay disciplined. And then I start asking myself, was I always like this? Or did I train my brain to crave quick hits instead of effort? It messes with my confidence in ways I don't even know how to explain properly. I don't feel grounded in my body. I don't feel masculine. I don't feel solid. I feel drained. And it affects how I see women too, which I hate admitting. Not in a creepy way, but in a broken way. I'll meet someone real, someone normal, and my brain compares them to unrealistic stuff it's seen. Then I feel guilty for even having that comparison in my head. I don't want that. I want real connection, real attraction, real intimacy. But porn makes everything feel fake afterward. Even flirting feels harder. Eye contact feels awkward. Confidence feels forced. It's like my brain knows the shortcut to dopamine and real life feels slow in comparison. Another thing it's doing is killing my self-respect. Every time I give in, I break a promise to myself. And that stacks up. I stop trusting my own words. I stop believing my own plans. I'll say, I'll wake up early. I'll work on myself. I'll change. But in the back of my mind, I'm like, yeah, right. That's dangerous. Because if you don't trust yourself, everything feels harder. I've also noticed I use porn when I feel unwanted, when I feel rejected, when I feel behind in life, when I feel like I'm not enough. It becomes this fake version of comfort, but it doesn't comfort me. It just numbs me for a bit. Then it leaves me worse. Sometimes after, I just sit there, quiet, empty, not crying, not angry, just disappointed. I'll think about all the time I've wasted, the energy I've thrown away, the version of myself I could be if I had control. And then I spiral. I compare myself to other guys who seem disciplined, focused, driven, and I feel like I'm lagging behind. Porn makes me feel passive, like life is happening to me instead of something I'm actively building. I hate that feeling. What hurts the most is knowing I'm aware. I'm not ignorant. I'm not pretending it's harmless. I know it's messing me up, and I still do it. That creates this internal war. One part of me wants growth, another part wants escape, and escape keeps winning. I'll even have good days, productive days, hopeful days. Then one bad moment can undo all of it. Boredom, loneliness, stress. That's all it takes. And after, I feel like I've set myself back again. Like I'm starting from zero. I don't tell people about this. Not really. Because it's embarrassing. Because it sounds weak. Because people oversimplify it. They don't see the mental tug of war. They don't see how automatic it becomes. I'm not proud of this. I'm not romanticizing it. I'm just tired of pretending it's not affecting me. Because it is. It's affecting how I think, how I feel, how I see myself. And honestly, sometimes, it makes me feel broken. I don't really know what the right move is here. I'm not coming at this like someone who won. I'm coming at this like someone who's tired. So I want to ask you, are you dealing with this too? And I don't mean casually. I mean the kind where you know it's affecting you, but stopping feels way harder than people make it sound. Does it mess with your focus? Your confidence? Your motivation? Does it make you feel disconnected from real life or real people? And if you manage to slow it down or stop, what actually helped? Not the generic stuff, not just have discipline. What actually changed things for you? Was it hitting a low point? Was it talking to someone? Was it changing your environment? Was it replacing the habit with something else? Or are you still stuck too? Because I think a lot of people are struggling with this in silence. Everyone jokes about it. Everyone downplays it. But nobody really talks about the shame, the loss of self-trust, the feeling of being weak in your own mind. So if you're comfortable, leave a comment. Even if it's just, yeah, same. I'm not looking for judgment. I'm not looking for perfect answers. I just don't want to feel like I'm the only one fighting this and losing over and over again. That's it. I hadn't really been outside like that in weeks. Not properly. Not socially. Mostly just indoors, head down, same routine, same walls. So today I forced myself out. No big plan, just to exist around people again. And somehow, I ended up talking to a girl. Which sounds normal, but it didn't feel normal to me. My heart was beating fast before I even said anything. I kept rehearsing lines in my head like an idiot, then scrapping them, then panicking again. When I finally spoke, it felt stiff, like my body was there, but my brain was lagging. I smiled too much. I overthought every word. I became hyper-aware of my hands, my posture, my voice. And the whole time, a voice in my head was like, "You're being weird. You sound creepy. She can tell you're nervous." I don't even know if that was true, but it felt true. I tried to keep it casual. I really did. But I could feel the tension, that imbalance where you're more invested than the other person. And then it happened. The soft rejection. Not harsh, not rude, just clear. The kind that makes you immediately replay everything you said and wonder where it went wrong. I nodded. I said something polite. I walked away. And as soon as I was alone, it hit me. That familiar drop. Embarrassment. Self-doubt. That feeling of, why did I even try? My brain went straight to extremes. See? This is why you stay inside. This is why you don't approach. You're not built for this. I felt exposed, like I showed a vulnerable part of myself and it got shut down. And yeah, right now, it honestly feels like I don't want to do that again. Not because she did anything wrong, but because rejection hits harder when you're already fragile. It took effort just to go outside, just to talk, and it feels like I wasted it. I know people say, at least you tried, but it doesn't feel brave. It feels stupid. And I'm sitting with that now. After I walked away, I didn't just move on. I carried it with me. Every step home felt heavier, like everyone could somehow tell what just happened. I kept replaying the interaction over and over. The way I stood, what I said, how long I paused before talking. I started rewriting the scene in my head. If I had said this instead, if I sounded more confident, if I waited longer. And then the blaming started. Maybe I came on too strong. Maybe I came on too weak. Maybe my vibe was off because I've been isolated too long. That's the part nobody talks about. When you stay inside for weeks, you forget how to be normal around people. Not in a dramatic way, just rusty. Your timing is off. Your instincts feel dull. You don't trust yourself socially anymore. So when something goes wrong, you don't just take it as rejection. You take it as proof. Proof that you're awkward. Proof that you've fallen behind. Proof that something about you is wrong. And that hurts more than the rejection itself. I noticed how fast my confidence collapsed. One small moment undid weeks of trying to build myself back up. Suddenly my brain was like, see? You're not attractive. You don't belong out there. Stick to your room. It's safer. That voice gets loud after rejection, and it convinces you that avoidance is protection. But the truth is, avoidance is just loneliness with a mask on. I also realized how much pressure I put on that one interaction. Like it had to mean something. Like it had to go well to justify me going outside at all. That's not fair. But when you're starved for connection, every attempt feels high stakes. So when it fails, it feels personal. I don't hate her for rejecting me. She didn't owe me anything. What hurts is how exposed I felt. How obvious my nerves probably were. How badly I wanted it to go differently. And now I'm stuck in this place where part of me knows I did something brave, but another part of me just feels embarrassed and wants to retreat again. Right now, it honestly feels like I won't do that again anytime soon. Not because I think rejection is evil, but because I don't trust myself to handle it yet. I'm tired of feeling small afterward, tired of beating myself up. I went outside today. I tried. And somehow that made me feel worse instead of better. That's where I'm at. But it doesn't feel brave. It feels stupid. And I'm sitting with that now. I don't really know how I'm supposed to feel about this. Part of me knows I did something most people don't even notice anymore. I went outside. I talked to someone. I tried. But another part of me feels like I embarrassed myself and confirmed all my worst thoughts. So I want to ask you, have you ever worked up the courage to approach someone after being isolated for a while and then felt worse afterward? Did rejection hit you harder than it normally would? And if you kept trying, how did you stop taking it so personally? Because right now it feels like one rejection erased all the progress I thought I made. I'm also curious, is this just part of getting back out there? Being awkward first? Feeling uncomfortable before it gets easier? Or is it okay to step back for a bit and rebuild confidence another way? I'm not asking for hype or just be confident advice. I want real answers from people who've actually been there. If you've felt this before, or you're feeling it right now, drop a comment. Even reading someone say, "Yeah, same," would help more than you think. That's it. Everyone keeps talking about 2026 like it's going to fix something. New year, new energy, new me. I hate that phrase now. Because nothing actually changes. Just the date. You wake up on January 1st with the same habits, the same problems, the same unfinished stuff following you around. People act like the calendar reset your life. It didn't. It just moved the goalpost again. Another year of, this is the year I lock in. Another year of resolutions I've already made before. Wake up early, get disciplined, fix my life, be consistent. I've said all this already. More than once. And somehow that makes it worse. Because now it's not just failure, it's repeated failure. I'm tired of pretending every new year feels hopeful. Sometimes it just feels exhausting. Like, great, another lap. Another year of watching time pass while I feel stuck in the same spot. Another year of comparing myself to people who look like they're moving forward while I'm still trying to figure out basics. I hate how everyone suddenly becomes motivational for 2 weeks. Gym packed, vision boards, big talk. Then February hits and reality shows up again. Bills, loneliness, boredom, same patterns. Nothing magically shifts. And I think what really bothers me is the pressure to feel excited. Like if you're not optimistic about the new year, something's wrong with you. But what if you're just tired? What if you're tired of starting over mentally without actually feeling different? 2026 doesn't feel new to me. It feels like a continuation. Same struggles, same questions, same internal fights, just older. And yeah, I know people will say, "You're still alive, that's a blessing." I get that. But being alive doesn't automatically mean you feel fulfilled. Sometimes it just means you're still here trying to make sense of things. I don't hate life. I'm just worn out by the cycle. Hope, disappointment, repeat. So when people ask, "What are your goals for 2026?" Honestly, I don't even know how to answer anymore. Right now, it just feels like another year I'm supposed to fix myself. And I'm tired of pretending that a new number makes that easier. What really messes with me about 2026 is how fast it got here. It doesn't feel earned. It doesn't feel like progress. It just feels like time slipping through my hands. I still remember saying, by next year, things will be different. I said that about 2023, then 2024, then 2025. Now here we are again, and I'm forced to look at myself and ask, what actually changed? Not what I planned, not what I talked about. What actually changed? That question makes me uncomfortable, because time keeps moving whether you're ready or not. People around me are hitting milestones, careers, relationships, moves, families. And I'm not jealous in a bitter way. I'm just confused. Like, how did everyone else get the manual and I missed it? I hate the feeling of being behind without even knowing what ahead looks like. 2026 just makes it louder. It puts a number on your age. A reminder that life isn't waiting. And I hate how the internet turns the new year into a highlight reel. Everyone posting wins, glow-ups, success stories. Meanwhile, I'm just trying to get through days without feeling like I wasted them. Another thing I'm sick of is the pressure to reinvent myself every year. Like I'm a product update. New habits, new personality, new discipline. What if I'm tired of rebuilding myself from scratch? What if I just want stability? It feels like I'm constantly told I should be becoming something instead of being allowed to exist where I am. And 2026 just adds to that weight. It's another reminder that time is expensive, and I feel like I'm spending it badly. Some days I don't even feel sad about it, just numb. Like I'm watching my life instead of living it. And the worst thought I keep having is this. What if 2026 is exactly like the last few years? Same promises, same motivation spikes, same burnout, same disappointment in myself. That thought scares me more than the new year itself, because it makes me wonder how many times I can repeat this cycle before it breaks me. I don't want to hate the future. I really don't. I'm just tired of being told a new year is a solution when it's really just a reminder. A reminder that time keeps going even when you feel stuck. That's what 2026 feels like to me right now. I don't really know how I'm supposed to feel about 2026. So I want to ask you, does the new year actually motivate you? Or does it just remind you of everything that didn't change? Are you excited? Or are you just tired of starting over mentally? Have you noticed that every year comes with the same promises, the same "this time will be different" feeling, and then slowly turns into the same routine again? If you're being honest, do you feel ahead, behind, or just stuck? And how do you deal with that pressure? The pressure to have goals, to be improving, to feel hopeful even when you don't. Do you still make resolutions? Or did you stop because it started feeling pointless? I'm not asking for motivational speeches. I'm asking because I know I can't be the only one who looks at a new year and feels more overwhelmed than inspired. If you feel this way too, say something in the comments. Even if it's just, "Yeah, same." That's enough. I think we're being lied to about our 20s. Not directly, but constantly. Everywhere you look, it's people flexing. Trips, cars, clothes, lifestyle. And it makes it feel like your 20s are supposed to look impressive. Like if you're not doing big things, posting big wins, living fast, you're wasting time. I don't think that's true. I think your 20s are actually for being confused, for making quiet progress, for building stuff nobody claps for yet. But that doesn't look good online, so it feels wrong. Flexing in your 20s is usually just spending tomorrow's stability today. People aren't rich, they're early. Early in debt, early in burnout, early in pretending. And yeah, some people really are doing well, but most are just keeping up appearances. What nobody wants to say is that your 20s are messy by default. You're figuring out who you are, what you're good at, what you're not, what you even want. That's not a flex stage. That's a foundation stage. I think a lot of people ruin their 30s trying to look successful in their 20s. They lock themselves into lifestyles they haven't earned yet. They prioritize image over options. And once you build your life around flexing, it's hard to slow down without feeling like you failed. I've noticed the people who are actually calm, actually stable, actually confident, weren't loud in their 20s. They were boring. They were focused. They were invisible. They didn't look successful. They were becoming successful. And that difference matters. Your 20s aren't for proving anything. They're for learning. Learning discipline. Learning how money works. Learning how your mind works. Learning how to sit with discomfort without escaping it. Flexing skips all of that. It looks good now and costs you later. So if your life feels quiet right now, if you're not impressing anyone, if you're just trying to get your footing, that might actually mean you're doing it right. What nobody tells you is that flexing comes with a bill. It just doesn't arrive right away. It shows up later. It shows up as debt you can't shake, as pressure to keep earning just to maintain appearances, as anxiety every time money slows down. I've noticed that a lot of flexing isn't confidence. It's insecurity with a budget. People aren't trying to enjoy life. They're trying to prove something, that they're not behind, that they made it, that they're winning. But when your identity gets tied to looking successful, you stop making smart decisions. You choose what looks good over what makes sense. You choose fast rewards over long-term peace. And the scary part is, social media normalizes it. You start thinking this is just how life works, that everyone is spending, upgrading, traveling nonstop. But most of it is financed, borrowed, stretched. And once you lock yourself into that lifestyle, you don't really get to breathe. Your job owns you. Your income owns you. Your image owns you. You can't slow down. You can't take risks. You can't afford mistakes. That's not freedom. Your 20s are probably the last time you can afford to be invisible, to make moves quietly, to mess up without destroying everything, to live below your means without anyone questioning it. But flexing takes that advantage away. It forces you into a pace you didn't choose. I've also noticed how flex culture messes with self-worth. You start measuring yourself by what you have instead of who you're becoming. So even when you're making progress, it doesn't feel like enough. Because it's not loud. Because it's not visible. Because nobody's clapping. But the boring stuff is what compounds. Skills, habits, savings, mental strength. None of that looks impressive at 23 or 25, but it matters a lot at 30. I think the real flex in your 20s is having options, being able to quit, to pivot, to take a risk without panicking. Flexing kills options. It locks you into a version of life you might not even want. So if you're not flexing right now, if you feel behind, if your life looks boring, that might be your advantage. You're building space, not noise. I'm not saying nobody should enjoy their 20s. I'm not saying you should live like a monk. I'm just questioning the pressure to look impressive all the time. So I want to ask you, do you feel that pressure too? To look successful? To look like you're winning? Have you ever spent money or made decisions just so you wouldn't feel behind? And if you're being honest, do you think flex culture actually makes people happier? Or just more stressed? I'm also curious how many people feel like their life is boring right now, even though they're actually building something real. If you're in your 20s, what do you think this decade is really for? And if you're past your 20s, what do you wish you focused on more back then? Drop your thoughts in the comments. No flexing, just real answers. There's this rule I heard a while ago and brushed off like it was obvious. If you can't buy it multiple times, you can't afford it. At first I thought it was extreme, like who's buying things multiple times? But the more I think about it, the more I realize how much trouble ignoring this rule caused me. Because I've bought things I could technically afford, but only once. One purchase wiped me out. One expense made me anxious. One bad decision put me in recovery mode. That's not affordability. That's gambling. I think a lot of us confuse having the money with being able to afford something. Just because the money is sitting there doesn't mean it's safe to spend. If buying something leaves you stressed afterward, checking your balance, hoping nothing else goes wrong, you couldn't afford it. You just survived it. I've done this with clothes, tech, food, subscriptions, random wants. Stuff I didn't need, but convinced myself I deserved. And yeah, it felt good for a moment. But then reality showed up. Bills still exist. Emergencies still happen. Life still asks for money when you least expect it. That's when regret hits. The rule isn't about being cheap, it's about margin. If you can buy something 3 times over and still be okay, then it doesn't control you. But if buying it once puts pressure on your future self, you're borrowing stress. And future you always pays interest. I also realized this rule exposes impulse spending. If you know you can't buy it twice, you hesitate. You question the purchase. You slow down. That pause saves you. I wish I learned that earlier, because a lot of my financial stress wasn't about low income. It was about bad decisions stacked on top of each other. I wasn't broke. I was careless. And that's a harder thing to admit. This rule doesn't make you rich, but it keeps you stable. And stability is underrated. The more I think about this rule, the more I realize how uncomfortable it is. Because it doesn't just apply to big purchases. It shows up in small, everyday decisions. Food, Ubers, subscriptions, clothes you might need, tech upgrades you don't actually need. All those little things add up. I used to tell myself, it's not that expensive. I'll make it back. It's just this once. But it was never just once. It was death by 1,000 small justifications. And the scary part is, none of those purchases felt reckless in the moment. They felt normal. That's how lifestyle creep gets you. You slowly raise what feels acceptable without raising your actual stability. Social media makes this worse. You see people your age traveling, upgrading, living fast. You don't see their debt. You don't see their stress. So you try to keep up. You buy things to feel like you're not falling behind, to feel successful, to feel grown. But buying things to feel okay is expensive. I also realized ego plays a huge role. Sometimes I bought stuff not because I wanted it, but because I didn't want to feel broke. That's dangerous, because pride makes bad financial decisions feel justified. Another thing this rule exposed for me is how fragile my finances actually were. If one unexpected expense could throw everything off, then I wasn't safe. I was balanced on a knife edge. And living like that messes with your head. You start avoiding checking your account. You get anxious when your phone buzzes. You delay dealing with money altogether. That's not freedom. That's quiet stress. This rule forces you to think long term. Not, can I buy this today, but can I handle the consequences tomorrow? It makes you respect your future self. It also teaches patience. Some things you want now make more sense later. Not because you don't deserve them, but because timing matters. I've started seeing money less as something to spend and more as something to protect. Not hoard, protect. Because money isn't just about buying stuff. It's about options. Options to say no. Options to walk away. Options to breathe. When you spend without margin, you lose options. And once I understood that, this rule stopped feeling restrictive. It started feeling relieving, like permission to slow down. I'm not saying this rule is perfect, and I'm definitely not pretending I follow it all the time. But it made me rethink how I spend. So I want to ask you, do you have a rule like this when it comes to money? Something simple that keeps you from making dumb decisions? Or do you mostly go by feeling and deal with the stress later? Have you ever bought something that you technically could afford but immediately regretted? And how much of your spending do you think comes from pressure, social media, comparison, wanting to feel like you're not behind? If you've figured out a system that works for you, budgeting, rules, limits, habits, I'd genuinely like to hear it. Not to judge, just to learn. Money stress is one of those things almost everyone deals with, but nobody talks about honestly. So if you're comfortable, drop a comment. Someone reading it might need it. I used to think fear was a warning, like my brain protecting me from danger. But the older I get, the more I realize most fear isn't about survival. It's about exposure. Fear shows up when you're about to be seen, when you're about to try, when you're about to risk being rejected, embarrassed, or wrong. That's why fear hits hardest right before the things you actually want. Not random moments. Right before you send the message. Right before you speak up. Right before you start something new. Right before you leave what's familiar. Fear isn't saying, this will kill you. It's saying, this might change you. And change is uncomfortable. I've noticed something about my own fear. It doesn't stop me from doing meaningless things. I'm not afraid to scroll. I'm not afraid to waste time. I'm not afraid to stay comfortable. Fear only shows up when the stakes are emotional, when something matters. That's how I know fear isn't the enemy. It's a signal that you're close to something real. But instead of listening to it properly, I let it run the show. I let it talk me out of things. It's not the right time. You're not ready yet. What if you fail? What if people judge you? And those thoughts sound reasonable. That's the problem. Fear doesn't scream, it negotiates. It gives you logical excuses to stay exactly where you are. And staying where you are feels safe. But safe doesn't mean fulfilled. I've noticed every major regret in my life has fear behind it. Not fear of dying, fear of trying. Fear of being vulnerable. Fear of putting myself out there. Fear of finding out I'm not enough. So I stayed quiet. I waited. I overthought. And nothing terrible happened, but nothing good happened either. That's the part nobody talks about. Fear doesn't always ruin your life dramatically. Sometimes it just keeps it small. You still function. You still survive. You just don't expand. And deep down, you feel that quiet frustration, that sense that you're capable of more, but you're not touching it. I've also realized fear is very specific. It doesn't block everything. It blocks the exact thing that would move your life forward. The conversation you need to have. The risk you need to take. The version of yourself you're avoiding. That's not a coincidence. Behind fear is growth. Behind fear is honesty. Behind fear is the life you imagine when you're alone with your thoughts. Not a perfect life. Not an easy one. A real one. The scary part is no one can cross that line for you. You don't get confidence first. You get it after. You don't stop being afraid and then act. You act scared. And that's the part I'm still learning. Fear doesn't go away because you understand it. It goes away when you stop obeying it. Right now, I'm starting to see fear less like a wall and more like a door. An uncomfortable one you hesitate to open. But usually the things I want most are sitting right behind it. And avoiding that door has cost me more than opening it ever could. The hardest thing about fear is that it doesn't feel irrational. If fear was loud and obvious, it'd be easy to ignore. But fear is quiet, calculated, convincing. It disguises itself as logic. It says things like, let's wait until you're more prepared. Now isn't the best time. You should think this through more. And thinking sounds responsible, so you listen. But weeks turn into months, months turn into years, and suddenly waiting feels normal. I've noticed fear loves comfort. Not comfort that feels good, comfort that feels familiar. Even if familiar makes you miserable. You'll stay in situations you hate because at least you know how they end. Fear prefers predictable pain over uncertain growth. That's why people stay in bad relationships, bad jobs, bad habits. Not because they like them, but because leaving means stepping into the unknown, and fear hates the unknown. I've also realized fear isn't about the outcome. It's about identity. It's the fear of finding out who you are if you try. What if you fail and confirm your worst thoughts? What if you succeed and outgrow people? What if your life actually changes and you can't go back? That's terrifying. So fear keeps you in almost. Almost trying. Almost changing. Almost living. Enough effort to feel busy, not enough to feel exposed. And the worst part is, fear rewards you in the short term. You feel relief when you avoid the thing. Your body relaxes. Your mind quiets down. That relief tricks you into thinking you made the right choice. But relief isn't peace. Relief fades. Regret sticks around. I think most anxiety isn't about danger. It's about unrealized potential. That feeling that you're capable of more, but you're not moving toward it. Fear keeps reminding you of that gap. And instead of crossing it, you numb it. Scroll, distract, overthink, stay busy. Anything except stepping forward. I'm starting to see fear differently now. Not as something to eliminate, but something to walk with. Fear doesn't disappear when you act, it follows you. But it loses power when it realizes it's not in charge. Every time I've done something despite fear, it's never been as bad as I imagined. Awkward? Yes. Uncomfortable? Definitely. World-ending? Never. The pain of action is sharp but short. The pain of avoidance is dull but endless. That's the trade. I'm still afraid most of the time, but I'm more afraid of staying the same. Because fear doesn't protect your future. It protects your current version. And sometimes, that version needs to be left behind. I don't think fear ever fully goes away. So instead of pretending it does, I think the real question is, what is fear stopping you from doing right now? Is it a conversation you keep replaying in your head but never actually have? Is it reaching out to someone because you don't want to feel rejected or stupid? Is it starting something you've been thinking about for years but keep telling yourself you're not ready? Or is it leaving something that you already know isn't good for you but feels safer than the unknown? I'm asking because fear doesn't show up randomly. It attaches itself to the things that matter, the things that could actually change your life. And most of the time, the cost of avoiding those things isn't obvious right away. It shows up later, as regret, as resentment, as the feeling that you missed your window. I'm not here to tell you to be fearless. I don't believe in that. I think courage is just acting while fear is still there. Letting your hands shake, letting your voice crack, letting things be messy, and trusting that you'll handle the outcome because you always have. So if you're watching this, I want to know, what's one thing fear has been talking you out of lately? And what do you think would actually happen if you did it anyway? You don't have to answer perfectly. You don't even have to share details. But think about it honestly. Because behind fear isn't a guarantee. It's a chance. And sometimes, that's everything. I didn't even realize it was a problem at first. It just felt normal. I'd wake up, grab my phone, and start scrolling. Not because I was looking for anything specific, just scrolling. News, tweets, clips, drama, bad headlines, people arguing, people flexing, people panicking. And somehow I'd be 30 minutes in before I even got out of bed. That's how it starts. You tell yourself, I'm just checking what's going on. But you're not checking. You're drowning. I scroll when I'm tired. I scroll when I'm bored. I scroll when I'm anxious. I scroll when I don't want to think. And the scary part is, it doesn't even feel good. It feels heavy. Every post feels like proof that the world is broken, that everything's getting worse, that everyone else is doing better than you or falling apart faster than you. There's no win. I'll scroll past wars, then memes, then someone richer than me, then someone more miserable than me, then some guy yelling about the future like it's already over. And my brain just absorbs all of it. By the time I put my phone down, I'm already exhausted. I haven't done anything, but I feel drained. That's what doom scrolling does. It steals your energy before the day even starts. I've noticed it messes with my mood more than I admit. I feel more cynical, more numb, less motivated. Things that should matter don't hit the same because my brain is overstimulated by nonsense. And the worst part? I know it's happening while it's happening. I'll literally think, why am I still scrolling? And then I keep scrolling. That's when it stopped feeling like a habit and started feeling like a trap. I think doom scrolling feeds on uncertainty. When your life feels unclear, your future feels shaky, your mind wants answers, so you scroll. But instead of answers, you get noise. Endless noise. And that noise convinces you that things are worse than they actually are, that you're behind, that you're failing, that the world is collapsing and you're just watching it happen from a tiny screen. It also kills momentum. I'll tell myself, I'll start after I scroll a bit. And suddenly it's an hour later, and I don't even remember what I saw. Just a blur of negativity and comparison. Sometimes I close the app and feel this weird emptiness. Like my brain is full, but my life is untouched. Nothing changed. Nothing improved. I just consumed. And I hate that I let my phone decide how I feel. I hate that my first emotion of the day is usually anxiety or frustration instead of calm. I don't think doom scrolling makes you informed. I think it makes you overwhelmed. And right now, I honestly feel like I'm losing hours of my life to it. Not dramatically, just quietly. And that scares me. Because time doesn't come back. And I don't want to look back and realize I spent years scrolling through other people's chaos instead of building my own life. That's where I'm at. I don't think people talk enough about how doom scrolling actually rewires you. Because it's not just wasting time. It's changing how you think. I've noticed my attention span is cooked. I'll sit down to do something simple, read, write, even play a game. And my brain keeps reaching for my phone like it's itching, like it needs another hit. I'll check it without thinking. Open an app, scroll, close it, then open another one. Sometimes I don't even remember why I unlocked my phone. That scares me. It feels like my brain is no longer mine. It's trained to seek stimulation nonstop, and the stimulation is always negative. Bad news travels faster. Anger gets more engagement. Fear sticks longer. So even when nothing bad is happening in my life, I feel like something should be wrong. Like I'm behind on worrying. Doom scrolling keeps me in a constant low-level panic. Not enough to freak out, just enough to feel uneasy all the time. And that bleeds into everything. I'm more skeptical of people, more tired in conversations, less present. I'll be talking to someone and half my mind is still buzzing from everything I scrolled past earlier. I think it also messes with confidence. Because when you're constantly consuming opinions, you stop trusting your own. Everyone online sounds certain. Everyone's yelling. Everyone has answers. And I'm just sitting there thinking, am I dumb for not knowing? So I scroll more, trying to understand, trying to catch up. But there's nothing to catch up to. The feed never ends. I've also noticed how it feeds procrastination. When something feels hard, a decision, a task, a thought, doom scrolling becomes an escape. Not a relaxing one, just an avoidant one. I'm not resting, I'm hiding. And afterward, I feel worse. Because now I've avoided the thing and filled my head with garbage. Double loss. There are days I feel mentally exhausted before noon. Not because I worked hard, but because I consumed too much. Too many problems that aren't mine. Too many arguments I wasn't part of. Too many lives I'm not living. And it makes my own life feel smaller. Less exciting. Less meaningful. I catch myself thinking, what's the point? Not in a dramatic way, just in a numb way. Like everything is noise and effort doesn't matter. That's dangerous, because that mindset kills ambition quietly. I don't think doom scrolling makes you depressed overnight. I think it slowly drains hope, bit by bit, until motivation feels fake and peace feels unreachable. What hurts the most is knowing I'm doing this to myself. No one is forcing me to scroll. I just don't know how to stop yet. I've tried limits. I've tried deleting apps. I always come back. Because when you're lonely, when you're uncertain, when your life feels stalled, the scroll is always there. It doesn't judge you. It doesn't expect anything from you. It just takes your time and gives you anxiety in return. I don't have a clean solution yet. I just know something's off. And if I don't get control of it, I'm scared I'll wake up years from now with nothing to show except a memory of endless scrolling. I'm not asking this like someone who figured it out. I'm asking as someone who's still stuck in it. So I really want to know, are you dealing with the same thing? Do you ever wake up already tired because your brain knows what's coming the moment you grab your phone? Do you tell yourself you'll just check one thing, and then suddenly you're deep into content you didn't even mean to see? News you didn't ask for, arguments you don't care about, lives that have nothing to do with yours. And yet, you stay. Do you ever feel like scrolling has become your default emotion? Bored? Scroll. Anxious? Scroll. Lonely? Scroll. Avoiding something important? Scroll. And afterward, do you ever sit there feeling kind of empty? Like your head is loud, but your life is quiet? I'm also curious if anyone's noticed how it affects their thinking. Do you feel more negative than you used to? More detached? More cynical? Do you ever feel like the future looks heavier than it did before you spent hours online every day? And if you've tried to stop, what actually worked? Was it deleting apps, setting limits, replacing it with something else? Or did nothing really stick? Because for me, the hardest part isn't knowing it's bad. It's dealing with the silence that comes when I put the phone down. No stimulation, no distraction, just my thoughts. And sometimes those are harder than the scroll. So yeah, I'm not here to judge. I just want to know how many of us are quietly dealing with this and pretending we're fine. If this hit you, leave a comment, even if it's just same. Because right now, it feels like a lot of us are scrolling alone through the same thing. I didn't even realize I was romanticizing the past at first. I thought I was just remembering. But there's a difference. Remembering is neutral. Romanticizing is lying to yourself without noticing. I catch myself doing it at random times, late at night, when I'm bored, when I feel lonely. My brain pulls up old memories like highlights, the good moments, the laughs, the way things felt in the beginning. And suddenly the past looks warm, simple, safe. But it wasn't like that the whole time. I just forget that part. I don't remember the anxiety, the waiting, the overthinking, the way I felt small sometimes. My brain edits all that out. It's like my mind only keeps the moments where I felt wanted and deletes the moments where I felt confused or ignored. And that's dangerous. Because then I start thinking, maybe it wasn't that bad. Maybe I should have tried harder. Maybe I messed it up. Even though I know deep down there were reasons it ended. I think we romanticize the past most when the present doesn't feel good. When your life feels empty or directionless, your brain looks backward for comfort. The past already happened. There's no risk there, no rejection, no uncertainty. You already know how it ends, and somehow, that feels safer than facing what's next. Another thing I noticed is I don't miss the whole relationship. I miss specific moments. A laugh, a late-night conversation, a feeling. But a few moments don't equal a healthy situation. And yet my brain keeps treating them like proof that it was special. I also think guilt plays a role. You start blaming yourself. You replay what you could have done differently. You imagine alternate versions where things worked out. That keeps you tied to the past. Because as long as there's a what if, there's hope. And hope is hard to let go of. But holding on to hope for something that's already over is exhausting. That's where I'm at with this. Not judging myself for remembering. Just starting to notice when memory turns into fantasy. The first thing I had to accept is this. You can't stop romanticizing the past if you keep feeding it. Every time I reread old messages, every time I replay certain moments, every time I check their socials, I'm basically training my brain to stay there. So one thing I started doing was cutting off access. Not in a dramatic way, just quietly. Deleting old chats, muting names, stopping myself from going down memory rabbit holes. It felt harsh at first, like I was erasing something important. But I realized I wasn't erasing memories, I was erasing triggers. Another thing I noticed is that romanticizing usually starts when I'm avoiding the present, when my days feel empty, when I don't have structure, when I'm not working toward anything. That's when my brain goes backward. So instead of asking, how do I stop thinking about the past? I started asking, what am I avoiding right now? Most of the time it was discomfort. Things like starting something new, facing boredom, being alone without distraction, admitting I don't know what's next. The past feels easier because it's familiar. The future requires effort. I also had to stop arguing with my memories. At first, I tried telling myself, it wasn't that good. That relationship sucked. That didn't work. My brain would just push back harder. What worked better was balance. When a good memory popped up, I'd let it be there. But I'd also remind myself how I felt toward the end. Not to punish myself, just to stay honest. Another big shift was separating feelings from facts. Feeling happy in a moment doesn't mean the situation was healthy. Feeling loved sometimes doesn't mean you were valued consistently. I kept confusing intensity with meaning. Once I saw that, the memories lost some of their power. I also noticed I romanticized the past more when I wasn't being honest about my needs. I accepted less than I wanted. I avoided speaking up. I stayed quiet to keep the peace. So now, part of stopping the romanticizing is forgiving myself for that. I did the best I could with what I knew then. I also had to accept something uncomfortable. Missing someone doesn't mean you should go back. It just means your nervous system hasn't caught up yet. Attachment lingers longer than logic. And that's okay. What helps me most now is building something in the present. Not something huge. Just things that give my days weight. Routine, movement, learning, creating. When the present feels fuller, the past gets quieter. I still slip sometimes. I still catch myself drifting. But now I notice it faster. And instead of shaming myself, I gently pull myself back. Because the goal isn't to erase the past, it's to stop living in it. I'm still working through this myself. I don't have it all figured out. So I want to ask you, how do you stop romanticizing the past? What actually helped you move forward instead of constantly looking back? Did you cut contact completely? Did you delete things? Did time do the work? Or did you have to actively change your routine, your mindset, your life? And when memories pop up, what do you do with them? Do you let them pass? Do you challenge them? Do you distract yourself? I'm also curious if you've noticed this too, that the past feels louder when the present feels empty. If that's true for you, what helped fill that space? I'm not looking for perfect advice, just real experiences. So if you're comfortable, drop a comment. Someone reading it might need it as much as you did. That's it. I wish you the best rest of the day. Peace. The more I pay attention to my life, the more I realize dopamine is running everything, and not in a good way. Dopamine isn't pleasure like people think. It's anticipation. It's the chase. It's that little feeling of something good might happen if I keep going. And the problem is, we've trained our brains to expect that feeling constantly. Every scroll, every notification, every message, every like, every new video, tiny hits, all day. I wake up and my brain already wants stimulation. Not peace, not clarity, stimulation. That should have been my first red flag. I don't think our brains were built for this pace. I notice it when I try to do normal things. Reading feels boring. Silence feels uncomfortable. Long-term goals feel distant and pointless. Not because they are, but because they don't give instant feedback. No quick hit. Dopamine has made patience feel painful. I'll sit down to work and my brain immediately starts bargaining. Let's just check one thing first. One video. One scroll. And once I give in, the task is already harder. Because now my brain wants more. That's how dopamine works. It raises the baseline. What used to feel exciting starts feeling normal. So you need more stimulation just to feel okay. That's why everything feels dull. It's not that life is boring. It's that our reward system is fried. I also think dopamine messes with motivation in a sneaky way. People think dopamine gives motivation. I think too much dopamine kills it. Because when your brain gets rewarded easily, it doesn't want to work for anything. Why struggle for progress when you can scroll and feel something instantly? Why sit with discomfort when you can distract yourself? So we avoid. We avoid boredom, we avoid effort, we avoid stillness, and those are the exact places where growth usually happens. I've noticed how this affects my emotions too. I feel more restless than before, less satisfied. Even good moments feel short, like I'm already looking for the next thing instead of being present. And that's scary. Because if your brain is always chasing the next hit, nothing ever feels like enough. Not success, not relationships, not peace. Just more stimulation. I don't think dopamine is evil. I think we've abused it. We've turned our brains into slot machines. Pull the lever, refresh, scroll, hope for something interesting, over and over. And now when nothing happens, we feel empty. That's where I'm at with this. Not blaming technology, not blaming society, just noticing that my brain is addicted to anticipation more than fulfillment. And I don't know yet how to fix it. I just know something's off. I think the biggest lie we're told is that we're lazy. That if we just tried harder, everything would click. But when I look at my own life, it doesn't feel like laziness. It feels like my brain is exhausted from being overstimulated. Dopamine has trained me to expect rewards before effort. And real life doesn't work like that. Real progress is slow, quiet, boring most of the time. There's no notification for consistency, no instant feedback for discipline. So my brain resists it. I'll plan to do something productive and feel this weird internal friction. Not fear, not stress, just resistance. Like my brain is saying, why would we do this when there's an easier hit available? And that hit is always nearby. Phone, apps, videos, endless content. It's like carrying a dopamine vending machine in your pocket. I've noticed that even my goals feel different now. I still want things, success, stability, peace. But wanting doesn't translate into action the way it used to, because action feels flat. There's no rush, no novelty. And dopamine loves novelty. That's why starting things feels easier than finishing them. New idea? Exciting. New plan? Motivating. New routine? Feels fresh. But once the novelty wears off, my brain loses interest. Not because it's hard, but because it's no longer stimulating. That's where discipline is supposed to step in. But discipline needs a brain that can tolerate discomfort. And dopamine addiction makes discomfort unbearable. Even 5 minutes of boredom feels like too much. So I avoid. I procrastinate. I distract myself and call it a break. But it's not rest. It's escape. I think this is why so many people feel stuck. Not because they don't know what to do, but because their brains are hijacked. We're constantly rewarding ourselves without earning it. So effort feels pointless. And the longer this goes on, the harder it is to reverse, because your baseline shifts. What used to feel normal now feels dull. What used to be enjoyable now feels slow. And when life slows down, you feel empty. That emptiness is dangerous, because it pushes you to chase bigger hits, more scrolling, more content, more stimulation. It's not just phones either. Porn, sugar, gaming, drama, even overworking. Anything that gives quick reward without depth. I don't think most of us are addicted to one thing. I think we're addicted to relief. Relief from boredom. Relief from uncertainty. Relief from ourselves. And dopamine is the shortcut. The scary part is you don't realize how much it's affecting you until you try to sit still. No phone, no music, no background noise, just you. That's when the discomfort hits. Restlessness, anxiety, urge to check something. That's not normal human emotion. That's withdrawal. And realizing that was uncomfortable for me. Because it meant the problem wasn't motivation. It was conditioning. I don't have a clean fix for this yet. I'm still figuring out how to rebuild tolerance for boredom, for effort, for slow progress. All I know is if I don't change something, I'll keep wanting more and feeling less. And that doesn't feel like a life. I'm not talking about dopamine like an expert. I'm talking as someone who feels off and is trying to understand why. So I really want to know if this sounds familiar to you. Do you ever feel like your motivation disappeared, but you don't know where it went? Like you still care about your future, but doing anything about it feels harder than it should? Do you ever sit down to focus and feel this pressure in your chest to check something? Not because you need to, but because your brain wants relief. Do you notice how silence feels heavier now than it used to? How boredom feels almost painful? How even good things don't hold your attention for long? I'm also curious what dopamine looks like in your life. Is it your phone? Social media? Short videos? Gaming? Porn? Food? Drama? Or is it all of it mixed together? Do you ever feel like you're constantly consuming but rarely satisfied? Like you're always waiting for the next thing to make you feel something? And if you've tried to change it, what actually happened? Did you get bored fast? Anxious? Irritated? Did you cave and go back because the discomfort felt too real? Because that's the part people don't talk about. It's not hard to quit stimulation for a day. It's hard to sit with yourself when there's nothing to distract you. That's when thoughts come up. Feelings. Regret. Uncertainty. and dopamine keeps us running from that. So I'm not asking for perfect answers. I just want to know how many of us feel overstimulated, undermotivated, and kind of numb at the same time. If this hit you, say something, even if it's just one sentence. Because if a lot of us are dealing with this quietly, maybe the problem isn't us. Maybe it's the way we're living. And I think that conversation matters. People love the idea of serendipity, the accident, the coincidence, the I wasn't even trying and it just happened. We romanticize it like crazy. Meeting the right person by chance, finding your purpose randomly, success just falling into your lap. And I get why people like that idea. It's comforting. Because if life works on serendipity, then your lack of progress isn't your fault. It's just not your time yet. That's the dangerous part. I think we've turned serendipity into an excuse to stay passive. We sit around waiting for life to surprise us instead of actually doing anything uncomfortable. Waiting for the right moment, the right sign, the right opportunity. And we call that patience. But a lot of the time, it's just avoidance. I've caught myself doing this, telling myself things like, maybe it'll happen naturally, or if it's meant to be, it'll find me. That sounds deep, but it also keeps you stuck. Because real life doesn't reward waiting, it rewards movement. What people don't talk about is how selective the serendipity stories are. You only hear about the lucky moments that worked out. You don't hear about the thousands of people who waited for a sign and got nothing. Nobody interviews them. We act like chance is a strategy. It's not. Chance doesn't care about you. Chance doesn't owe you timing or clarity or meaning. Most lucky people weren't just sitting around. They were already in motion, already failing, already showing up, already doing something. And then chance intersected with effort. That part gets edited out of the story. I think the internet made this worse. We see highlight reels of people saying things like, I never planned this, or it just happened. And we internalize that. So when our life feels boring or stalled, we assume something's wrong, like we missed our moment. But maybe the moment never comes unless you force friction. Serendipity loves action. It hates comfort. You don't stumble into growth by staying where you are. You don't accidentally build a life by scrolling and waiting. I also think serendipity can become a coping mechanism. When you're scared to commit, you tell yourself you're open to whatever happens. When you're afraid of rejection, you wait for things to align naturally. When you don't want to fail publicly, you rely on fate privately. And it feels mature, spiritual, detached. But underneath it, there's fear. Fear of choosing wrong. Fear of trying and still failing. Fear of realizing that nothing magical is coming to save you. Serendipity sounds nice because it removes responsibility. If it works out, it was meant to be. If it doesn't, it wasn't. Clean, comforting, wrong. I'm not saying serendipity isn't real. It is, but it's rare, unreliable, and completely uninterested in your comfort. Basing your life on it is like refusing to steer because you hope the road bends the right way. I think a lot of people confuse surrender with passivity. Letting go doesn't mean doing nothing. It means acting without guarantees. And that's the part people skip. They want the magic without the risk, the coincidence without the discomfort, the outcome without the awkward middle. That's not how it works. Looking back, the few serendipitous moments in my life only happened because I was already uncomfortable, already exposed, already moving, not because I waited. And that realization kind of ruined the fantasy for me. Because it means if nothing is happening, it's probably not fate. It's inertia. And that's harder to accept. Here's where serendipity gets dangerous. It doesn't ruin your life loudly. It ruins it quietly. You don't wake up one day and say, I'm wasting my potential. You just keep telling yourself, I'm waiting for the right moment. And suddenly, years pass. I think a lot of people are stuck not because they lack talent, but because they outsource their agency to fate. They're waiting to feel ready, waiting for confidence, waiting for clarity. But clarity usually comes after action, not before it. Serendipity gets romanticized because it removes the awkward phase, the phase where you're bad at something, where you get rejected, where you look stupid trying. We skip that in our heads. We imagine the perfect accident where everything clicks without effort. But real life doesn't skip the middle. It makes you earn it. I've noticed something uncomfortable in myself. When I tell myself, if it's meant to happen, it will, what I'm really saying is, I'm scared to force it. Scared to pick the wrong path. Scared to invest and lose. Scared to put my name on a decision. So I stay flexible, open, non-committal. And that sounds wise until nothing grows. Because growth needs pressure. It needs constraint. It needs commitment to something even when you're unsure. Serendipity without effort is just fantasy. Effort without guarantees is reality. People also misuse serendipity to avoid responsibility for outcomes. If something fails, it wasn't meant to be. If a relationship dies, the universe had other plans. If a dream fades, it wasn't aligned. Those phrases feel peaceful, but they can also be a way to avoid grief, avoid regret, avoid the hard truth that sometimes things fail because we didn't try hard enough or long enough. That doesn't make you weak, it makes you human. But blaming fate keeps you from learning. I think that's the real cost. You stop reflecting. You stop asking, what could I do differently next time? Because fate already decided, right? Wrong. Life doesn't care about alignment. It responds to repetition, to showing up again, to awkward conversations, to boring consistency. Serendipity might open a door, but you still have to walk through it. And most people don't, because walking through it means leaving the comfort of maybe. I've also realized serendipity only helps people who are already visible. You don't accidentally get noticed while hiding. You don't stumble into connection while isolating. You don't magically change your life from the same routine. Chance needs exposure, risk, movement. So when people say, just let things happen, I think that advice is incomplete. Things don't just happen. They happen to people who are already in motion. Waiting isn't neutral. It's a choice, a quiet one. And the longer you wait, the harder it becomes to start. Because then you're not just afraid of failing, you're afraid of realizing you waited too long. That fear keeps people frozen. And serendipity becomes the excuse that sounds nicer than fear. I'm still wrestling with this, because part of me wants to believe something meaningful will find me without me having to force anything. But another part of me knows that belief has kept me comfortable for too long. And comfort rarely leads anywhere interesting. I don't want to end this by telling you what to believe. I'm more interested in how you actually live. So I want to ask you something honestly. How much of your life right now is built on waiting? Waiting to feel ready, waiting to feel confident, waiting for a sign, waiting for things to line up. And how much of that waiting has actually paid off? Have you ever looked back and realized the opportunities that changed your life only happened because you forced yourself into uncomfortable situations? Or are you still hoping something will just fall into place? I'm also curious how you personally define serendipity. Do you see it as luck, fate, timing? Or do you think it's just effort meeting opportunity, and we romanticize the rest? And if you're being real with yourself, has believing in meant to be helped you move forward or given you a reason to stay still? I'm not judging either way. I'm asking because I don't have a clean answer. Part of me still wants to believe that life will meet me halfway. But another part knows that if I don't move first, nothing changes. So I want to hear from you. Have you ever waited for a sign that never came? Or did acting without certainty end up changing everything? Drop your thoughts. No motivational quotes, no pretending, just real experiences. Because I think a lot of us are quietly stuck between trusting life and avoiding responsibility. And we don't talk about that enough.